the RUMERTIME process, and I came across this quote: behind every behavior is a belief.
Whatever setting you go to, whether you're at church, whether you're at school, whether you may be having
I was able to analyze a little bit more.
Bringing about real positive
in order
changes.
For me to be effective, I have to be reflective. And this training...
I gather an appreciation for reflecting. And I
take it from just something that's inside to getting it in a tangible form, getting it out from...
fulfilling and rewarding to see the kids who coming and they see growth in them. They became more reflective in their thinking, to see children grow and not just see, but to be a part of it.
What I have learned in camp about RUMERTIME is that it's a process for solving problems we face in our lives.
A lot of my stress, and then I begin to enjoy and spend time on the things that really make me happy.
I recommend this training to all age, from kindergarten.
Before you do that thing that you'll regret, or say that thing.
If you breathe and think, you should have this training.
I would recommend this to everyone.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. We're back, and we have an amazing guest again today. We just always have amazing guests because you know what? We are amazing people, and amazing people attracts amazing people. So that's all I could say today about that. I'm Dr. Larry. I am your host. I am one of your hosts for the Access RUMERTIME Conversations. And with me are...
I am Dr. Geneva Fleming. I'm bringing you greetings from South Carolina. I'm Vice President with GC Scored. Welcome, everyone, and a special welcome to our guest today, Minister Hackworth.
Thank you.
And I'm Laverne Shaw Bailey, coming at you live from Fargo, North Dakota. And I'm excited to hear Keena's story and talk with her today. Welcome, everyone.
Awesome.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vanessa Kelly Brew, and I am also a member of GC Scored. And I am coming to you live from the city with the heart, Elkhart, Indiana. And I am excited to have Minister Hackworth with us today to talk about her story with us and understand how the RUMERTIME process can also help in situations like hers. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Minister Hackworth.
Yes. Hello to everyone. Thank you for such wonderful greetings. Afternoon shall bring. Thank you again for having me.
All right.
So glad you're here.
So glad you're here. Do you want to tell our viewers about your book, about anything else you want to share with them? This is your opportunity to just tell the world.
Again for having me. I have this book that we wrote. There was not a ghostwriter. So everything comes from the heart. It comes from my will to live. I actually went to the cemetery to have taken. So it is authentic, and I want people to know it is authentic. Nothing is made to grasp your attention. Testimony. The will to live was birthed not from suicidal thoughts, but that I wanted to be able to smile from the inside out, authentic. I wanted that joy back that I had before and my son. The book has been selling amazing, solid, over 1,000 copies. I keep them on hand because I like graph. I like to be able to feel the people that I'm sending them to. I send it so that the Lord can give me something just quick to just right person I'm sending out to, and then we send those books out. The books do sellers. We do Cash App, which is just simply $sign, or certainly by check if I'm emailed. You Lady Hackworth. We try to keep it all simple. Lady Hackworth at yahoo.com. Facebook, Kiena Hackworth, and reach me there to obtain. You can go to Amazon, and the book sells on Amazon. And I always say I love for people to reach out to me because I'm then able to autograph out the book. It was not an easy write for me. It took a couple of years before I was able to gather mentally and emotionally to write. So it's been a journey, and it seems a journey.
Well, and we appreciate you being here today to share some of that journey with us as we talk about the work that we do and your journey and how it relates to the mission of our organization. So thanks again for being here, and thanks for sharing.
Yes. All right. So, and we're going to put up your contact details, Kiena, so that individuals could reach you, as well as get a copy of your book. All right. So this month, you're welcome. This month is, as you know, is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month across the globe. And we just want to do our education segment, and we will keep it moving. So here it is. Dr. G?
Okay, you said we want to, okay, did you want to do the PowerPoint? Is that what you're asking me? No, ma'am, I don't see a thing.
You don't see it.
But I can go, I can certainly go to share our mission, but I believe we would want it to flow.
Hold on, is nobody seeing the PowerPoint?
No, ma'am.
Share screen. All right, I'll try this again. No?
There we go. So for all our guests, GC Scored, that's the Global Center for Systemic Change, Outcome Research, Evaluation, and Development. Our mission is to renew minds, transform lives, and create safer communities.
And we do that by presenting what we call social emotional wellness. And what is that? So it is a person's ability to recognize, understand, manage, express, and reflect on thoughts, their interactions, their mind, and their emotions as it relates to self, others, and situations. And we do that by effectively utilizing the skills to become equipped and empowered to successfully navigate daily activities, loving, learning, earning, relationship building, problem solving, and adapting to the demands of growth and development.
And one of the ways that we increase social emotional wellness, I don't see the screen, but I know it, so I'll just say it, is through the RUMERTIME process. And the RUMERTIME process is an acronym. So RUMER is one acronym and TIME is another acronym. And for each acronym in TIME, your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and emotions, you do one of the letters or one of the concepts from RUMER. So you recognize your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and emotions. And then you begin to dig a little bit deeper when you understand your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and emotions. And you go all the way through RUMER, thinking about your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and emotions. And that's one of the ways that the RUMERTIME process helps. That's one of the ways that we increase our social emotional wellness through the RUMERTIME process.
Okay, thank you. And so the definition of the RUMERTIME process is that it is a 5-step culturally responsive social emotional problem solving strategy that helps individuals move from a position of intra and interpersonal imbalance to intra and interpersonal balance, and from unconscious living to conscious living. All right, so that's our education segment. We want to make sure that you are aware of the context in which we're talking, the context in which we're talking. There are all different types of ways to problem solve and to deal with mental health or social emotional wellness. This is the way that we have created, developed, and we continue to use, and we want to make sure individuals have access to this process. All right, so let's dive right into our conversation with Minister Hackworth, Lady Hackworth. And after reading your book, like I told you earlier, it was very compelling, but the title of your book is so appropriate, The Will to Live, because you went through traumatic event after traumatic event after traumatic event. And because we only have a little bit limited amount of time, I'll just kind of highlight. So first of all, you got into an accident. You just had a baby. You just had a baby, your son, little T, little Tony.
Yes.
You just had him, and you were coming back from Chicago or Indianapolis. You guys got into a fatal accident. From that accident, your mother-in-law died.
Yes.
Your body was disfigured.
Very much.
Right. And you had to go obviously you had to go to the hospital. Your son, however, survived it without a scratch, I believe.
Yes.
Right? Without a scratch. Fast forward, your husband, you got better. Lots of miracles happened there. But again, remember, we want to focus on this month is Suicide Prevention Month. So I want to prevention awareness. So I want to fast forward. Not that these issues are not important. I want people to understand we're not fast forwarding because these issues are not important. They actually are very important to the title of the book and to who Lady Kiena is. Mother-in-law died. Husband, lovely relationship, lovely marriage. You had other kids. You had 3 other children. Then your husband died unexpectedly. You had talked to him 30 minutes before he died. Now you were recovering from a physical illness, for the accident, physically and emotionally. You lost your husband. He was your world. He was your world. You went through that period of grieving, mourning, loss, questioning. Fast forward, I think 10 years. Your son was 16, your daughter was 13. Is that somewhere around there?
Yes.
Your husband died, their father died. Then 10 years after that, your son, little Tony, committed suicide.
Yes.
That was in 2013.
Yeah.
Tell us, a woman of faith, how did you, as a woman of faith, as Vanessa said, the intersection of faith, race, and mental health. Each of those concepts can be talked about in separate shows. How did you, Lady K, how did you navigate?
It was difficult, very difficult, because now, actually 8 years later, time was up. I watched my son begin to struggle behind me being a traveling evangelist. He was my musician. He played with me. And so here I'm ministering to people, states and cities, but yet I can't minister hard enough my son. And so I and I knew what helped me, which I was still doing, and just grabbing the from my husband, because you realize it's not even 10 years down the road. So for me, with my husband, are still fresh for me. But here now, my son mentally and emotionally struggle. I'm still trying to gather myself from my husband and trying to keep my children together. So here I really do feel pulled in. And you know, you try to keep, when you know that someone is losing it mentally, you try to keep it within the family, within the immediate family, so that people on the outside see that, oh my goodness, little Tony is, I see that there's something wrong. But when you have no one reaching, can I offer you all some help? Or maybe you need to go. It probably wasn't until it was too late that I tried to reach beyond what I knew, beyond the church, because it had gotten too much, where we couldn't handle it. I was losing my son, and I knew that I would lose him to, because there was sometimes that it would seem like he would be himself, would say everyone else around me is okay. I'm not. He had separated himself from all of his friends for hours, just in the dark. No TV, no phone, no. He had cut himself off from society. He didn't want to work where he was around. He knew the emotional roller. He knew that he wasn't himself, but he didn't know how to
get the help. Yeah.
So I know that you, from my reading of your book, I know that you tried towards the end, but you kind of briefly talked about it just was not a good fit. Would you mind sharing a little bit of how that was not a good fit for him? What the services were that you were trying to engage and why it wasn't a good fit for him?
There was a friend that, I mean, as a mother, I was going, what can I do to help my son? And then I thought about it, that recently graduated from as a psychologist. Maybe I can reach out to her. I reached out to her, very close family friend. She knew my children, me. She was also one that was, so if I can just be honest and say, she more or less diagnosed spiritually rather than professional, to say that, yes. And so that's why I say long direction. Had something like this been available, or again, because I didn't anyone
Yeah.
to go, and all I was told at that point was he'll be all right. You were thinking spiritually because you felt like mama is praying, grandma, those that know in the church family are praying, he'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say, that's why I say I reached to the because a family person may try and diagnose you more rather than their professionalism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So I'm going to kind of repeat because some of the things got cut up, but the question Laverne asked was how you tried. What made that effort not as successful? And your response was the person, which was key. The person diagnosed him. It was a friend, but they diagnosed him from a spiritual perspective and not from a social, emotional, or mental health professional perspective. And even though they meant well, we have to know, especially again in communities of faith, we have to know that all of this, the spiritual is important, but the social, emotional, the mental health, seeking out those types of services. And you said you wish there was something like you wish you had known about our organization at that time. And this is why we do this show, ladies and gentlemen, so that this resource, the Listening Oasis Wellness Space, the RUMERTIME process, can become more accessible for individuals everywhere. Mm-hmm. And so it's not because of a lack of faith, mm-hmm. but you also said it was a lack of knowing what was available, the resources. Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Anybody else?
Yeah, I wanted to jump in too because something that you said also stood out to me. Lady Hackworth, Minister Hackworth. Initially, you said that you had tried to keep it within the family.
Yeah.
And that others didn't know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And again, being a person of faith, you try to address it from a spiritual standpoint. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is that, again, as people of color, mm-hmm. that is what we tend to do. Mm-hmm. And we all know that there is this saying, what goes on in the home stays in the home. Mm-hmm. But when that happens, mm-hmm. what can happen is what happened to the result of what happened to your son, because others are not aware, and so they can't offer help if they don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. But again, like you said, you reached out, which is another problem, right? You reached out, but you didn't know what the resources that were available to you. Mm-hmm. And that is, again, something that we see in communities of color, because mm-hmm. typically when there are those types of issues, we do address them from a spiritual standpoint, and we don't have access to the resources or knowledge about the available resources.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ms. Hackworth, before, I read in the book that you did a lot of journaling. You've now written this book. So you had some processes or tools in place to help you handle your emotional life. Mm-hmm. And I know that you relied, of course, on your faith to allow you to do that. Can you, for those who are listening, can you just kind of tell us some other things that you were doing after your mother-in-law died, after your husband died, to help you manage your own emotional life? And maybe your son had not learned those skills yet, but for some reason you had these skills that you already knew. Can you just kind of outline some of those things that you were doing?
We're not hearing. No. She just cut out. No, not yet. Go out and come back in.
Yeah, you can go out and then sign back in.
Yeah, go out and sign back in.
Yeah, sign out and sign back in. Because right now we can't hear you at all.
Oh, maybe she can't hear us.
So I'll tell
Are
you
you
what.
hearing us?
How about we do this? Let's see if we can send her a message.
Let me send her a text.
Okay.
Yes, I don't want to speak for her, but I know she is involved in ministry, and I know that she did some journaling. I know that after the fact she's written her book, and I'm sure I would love to hear from her a little bit more about how that process, the reflection part, helped her to manage yet another situation in her life where she had to deal with the emotional fallout.
Yeah, and so ladies and gentlemen, as we wait on our guests to come back, we've been having some technical challenges. The weather in this area is not good. We're having some bad weather, and so we believe that some of this is related to that. But so we will continue talking. Laverne just shared. Laverne just asked a really good question and talking about some of the other ways that Lady Kiena handled the suicide of her son, and also the other traumatic events that she's back that occurred. And she used journaling. Kiena, you want to say something? See if we can hear you.
Hello. Hello.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
We're hearing you.
Oh, I so apologize.
We're all having difficulties today.
We're all having challenges today.
No worries.
Okay. Well, we're going to do the best we can.
That's right. That's right.
Actually, this is even better than before.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, so I have just been asking you, do you remember the question? I just been asking you some of the strategies or tools that you had used after your mother-in-law and your husband died that you had in place for yourself.
Well, of course, journaling. And a lot of the things I prayed, as you already, because I had no direction. Those of you that read the book, if you take that every day, because I threw myself back into work probably too early. I knew that I could not cut myself off from people work, but every day I came home, I would just literally close my door, give the children some money to close the door, and sit in the middle of the floor in my room and just cry and pray. A lot of all night long, and wake up and yet be in my office clothes from the day before. It was a ritual. I would get up. I would go to my husband's closet. I would to jump start my day, and I would begin my day. I couldn't rely on that because one day I went to his closet. The sit had left. And I just crumbled because that piece of him was gone. At this time, it was a total spiritual walk for God to tell me each time to navigate through this. And so Oaken said, you're going to have to rely on me rather than the things you can feel right now or your because my mind emotionally had told me, act as though your husband is gone on the long, better be able to deal with the death. But immediately I told myself, no, I can't do that. I've got to face. Tools came along the way. Journaling didn't come easy. Probably was maybe 5 months before I decided that would help me. And I think that's one of the with people that are going through and struggling through the absence, the death, the loss of the tools are so small until how will this help me? But I tell people everywhere I hold grief sessions with is journaling saved my whole life, strengthened me daily. It allowed me that outlet of emotion. Things, tools came as I went day by day because I would be able to talk. I couldn't speak above a whisper. Everything in me was just crushed. So I just knew mentally be able to inhale and exhale. I wanted to be able to smile. I wanted to be able to be around people, and I wanted to be able to help myself so that I could going to come down the line behind me.
Yeah. Awesome. Geneva, you want to say something?
I'm intently listening, and I'm feeling, I'm pulling it all in. And what I'm hearing you say, Minister Hackworth, is some of what we do. So we focus on what's called the triadic balance and how it is necessary for our spirit, our minds, and our bodies to be in sync. And as I'm listening to you share, it seemed to me that perhaps you were going through this stage of spirit rising up to be stronger than mind and body. And it was spirit that kept you. I don't want to get in a part of resolve, but that is a challenge from my experience within our culture. Vanessa talked about as Blacks in America, or perhaps even globally, we and within the culture of faith, people of faith, we from my perspective are sometimes out of balance, right? So we may be very high on the spiritual side, but limiting with the rest. And we believe that spirit is the way we should go. However, we do not recognize, we do not have, Vanessa talked earlier about lack of knowledge. We may not have the knowledge, we may not have the resources and the tools to support that, to support that journey. And to recognize that it may, what do we mean when we pray? What does that really look like? So all these are some of the things that's going through my mind right now. And from the parts of your book that I have read, I thought the title of your book is so apropos that it was spirit that gave you that will to live. But now you were on this journey of making the connection, of making spirit alive, making spirit become reality in your life by making your mind and your body come in sync with your spirit. And it's a journey, and it's a message I think the entire body of Christ has fallen short on, but we need to talk about it. And we're falling short because we're not talking about it. And perhaps we're not talking about it because of lack of knowledge. Not sure the reason. Yeah. But that's what I'm hearing, and I'm just soaking it in, and commend you so much for your journaling and for the production of your book, because it's so very well needed.
Go ahead, Vanessa. I just wanted to put a plug in here for the RUMERTIME guided activity journal that GC Scored has. Again, this is another real live example of the RUMERTIME guided activity journal. And if you can have access to our sample, we have a free guide that is downloadable, and you see the information on your screen. download your free RUMERTIME guided activity journal that is going to help you as it helped Lady Hackworth on her journey trying to surviving her son's suicide. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Thank you, Dr. Larrier. So what I wanted to piggyback on is what Dr. G was just saying, and then I want to transition to a question for you, Minister Hackworth. So first of all, I would like to read one of the comments that we have in the chat bar, and this comes from Lois Lynn. And she says, I now understand why Dr. Larrier insists that we need to refer persons to a medical professional so the person can receive the help they need. This is really hard as a mother. And so what you were just talking about, Dr. G, is this triad, right? The spirit, the mind, and the body. And what I wanted to know from you, Minister Hackworth, is how important do you, as a woman of faith who has experienced all of this trauma, and then culminating in the suicide of your son, what do you see is the importance of also supporting the mental or the social emotional part?
Important that we support that, and especially as I mean out for professional help, for professionals making themselves as much available and letting our communities know, especially so hard with COVID and people dealing lost people that they've lost during COVID. There are so that I encountered that are going through emotionally and mentally. They don't have those directions to reach out to. And most of the time, for our communities, that they're looking, if sister says, auntie says that here is an agency that I trust you. If someone would have just come to me early on, here is an agency that I've heard about, that I trust, and they're going to help. Just don't. I don't know if you all understand when you have around you but water and you're afraid to step out, you can't swim, then it's difficult. But when you hear on the news and in a Facebook post or something, if you need help, reach out to that. We need to be saturated with that's available. Otherwise, when my son, when I took him there through, to be honest, I said, well, this is it. And I told my son, I'm gonna have to do something better because I don't know what else to do. Hear this, and I'm telling him to pull it together. He can't pull it together. Praying for you, pull it together. But on the other side of this, I'm like, I'm exhausted. First, I tried when there's an array of other resources, but
Oh, that's so deep and powerful. So deep and powerful. You know, because we read in the word, you know, we read in Romans, and you see our mission says our mission is to renew minds, transform lives. So lives cannot be transformed until the mind is renewed. But how, dear God, do we do that? How do we renew our minds? And that,
how do we change the narrative? How do we change the narrative? Because as people of color, that is the narrative that we have had, to keep everything in the home. How
Don't
do we
talk about
change?
it.
That's right. Don't
Just
talk
pray
about it.
pray only. And
Mhm.
this is not a down on prayer. Oh, absolutely. I'm a strong proponent of prayer. But faith without works is dead. That's what that same word says. So there's some things we need to do, and we may not know what or where to get started. And if I could say right here, Dr. Larry talked about our guided activity journal for the room time. And so the key word in that journal is guided. Guided. They are guiding questions to help us along, to help us recognize what we're feeling, what we're thinking, how we are interacting with ourselves and with others. It's guided. So thank you, Minister Hackworth, for sharing that. Because
well, I'm just gonna say, you're in such a beautiful position right now that you have the voice as a minister to provide the knowledge to your congregants, to the young people that you come in contact with, that don't stop praying. But in addition to prayer, your social emotional life matters. And I'm curious how you see yourself moving forward, getting that word out to the people who you're interacting with.
I do. I'm always on Zoom to have other people that I've done grief sessions that will say, I have another family, reaching out to them. What I'm finding out though is person that's struggling, a lot of times they don't see their struggle, understand where they're at emotionally. It takes another person to see that hard time. You need some additional help, because that person might would have never and did not ever say, Mom, I need some help, because it was becoming a way of life for him. But for us to look on, you've disconnected with all your friends. You barely talk. We have to tell you to wash up. It was all these things. We have to saturate the family, because maybe we'll say, hey, we need to get Tanya some help. Or talk with Tanya and say, I'm going to go with you because I don't want to lose you. They don't see where they're at. It's going to take the be aware and not be ashamed. So I tell families where they're at, they don't understand where they're at. You're going to have to help them if you want to keep.
Yeah. Excellent. And so that brings me to talking about the relevance and how, Minister Hackworth, how you, as Laverne said, in your congregation could talk to individuals about the social emotional first aid and the Listening Oasis Wellness Space, because this is a resource that is free and confidential, easy to learn, easy to teach, culturally responsive, and all the different features of it. It uses agriculture. It uses regular things that we know about, like the air, the water, the grass, fruits, roots. Everybody knows that. It takes away the stigma. And what we want to be able to do, and what we are doing, is breaking into these enclaves, these faith-based enclaves, these non-faith-based enclaves, everywhere people breathe, everywhere that people have relationships, we are hell bent on getting the social emotional first aid into those spaces. And like you said, you used the word saturate multiple times. We want to saturate. And so we need you to use your life experience of losing your son by suicide because, among other reasons, lack of resources, the dominance of the cultural narrative, the dominance of the faith subculture narrative, and the lack of resources. We want you and others like you to be our champions for this social emotional first aid so that we can save lives. We can help to save lives. We can help to create safer communities. We can help to transform lives. We can help to renew minds. It is possible. And this is not something that is not spiritual. All right? We are spirit beings, right? We are spirit in bodies with minds. And this is all about how do we live the best life that we were created to live. You have to get tools. God gave us each mind. He gave us each families, relationships, experiences to help each other live the best way we can. That's a spiritual thing. That's a spiritual thing. So we are going to lean on you. Lean on you to help get the word out in your community and saturate. We want to saturate your community with wellness champions. So when one person falls from emotional distress, there is someone right there to be able to triage, to be able to get them the emotional first aid that they need to get up and have the will to live. It should not be relegated to people who have money or people who have internet access or people who have means. This should not be something that is marginalized. Receiving access, receiving social emotional first aid should be a human right.
And the issues that we discussed today should be, we're in crisis. We are in crisis. And so I'm happy that you're here using this platform to share your story. And so what I'm recognizing as we are talking today is this is not something that can be kept in isolation. And so often, perhaps because of lack of knowledge, because of lack of knowing about resources or having the tools to work with, is kept in isolation. And I think probably one of the biggest things is mindsets that people are in about how they're supposed to be or how they're supposed to respond to certain things. Don't talk about it, especially if I was raised up in, quote unquote, raised in the church and I believe a certain way, then I should not complain. And it's not complaining, but you need to be free. You know, we all need to be set free. And there's a process to go through that. So,
and the process is the RUMERTIME process.
That RUMERTIME to recognize,
that changes, that helps to transform your mindset. It is critical. It is, I tell to people, it is life and death. And it literally is life and death.
Yeah.
I firmly believe, after reading your story and the story of so many other people, if individuals had access to this problem-solving strategy, many people who are now dead due to suicide would be alive still. If people know that your feelings are messengers and not disorders, if people know that feelings have no intellect, if people know that they have over 6,000 thoughts a day, 80% of which are negative, when I feel anxious, when I feel depressed, when I feel overwhelmed, when I feel scared, my first place is not to say, oh, my brain is broken. My mind is broken. I have a disorder. My first place is to go, okay, what am I thinking that's causing me to feel? What message are my feelings giving me, bringing? What is the message? What is it you're trying to tell me? If people knew that, we would have a lot of different outcomes in our societies now than we have. The messaging needs to be changed and the truth needs to be told. Emotions, feelings are not disorders. They are indicators. They are messengers. That is a very empowering thing. Laverne, you're smiling. What is it you want to say? But I see some comments in the chat.
Yeah.
Laverne, go ahead.
Get the comments first because time is running out.
Okay. So Diane, let's see, Caroline, she's in Nigeria. Thanks, Dr. Yvonne, for exposing social emotional first aid to us, which has been assisting us in rationalizing our thoughts. Thank you, Caroline. Diane James, what a powerful session today. Mrs. Hackworth, thank you for sharing. Blessings to all. Loislin says, thanks to RUMERTIME and the CFA training, it has impacted my life, my family, etc. I have also learned to live consciously. Thanks for sharing this. Thanks for sharing. This was an eye-opener for me. Catherine, powerful. Feelings are messengers.
Yes.
Yeah. Miss Laverne.
I just want to give Minister Hackworth an opportunity to talk about how writing the book was also part of your healing process. So in the RUMERTIME process, you know, the last R in rumor is reflect. And you may not have known about the RUMERTIME process, but you were doing it organically.
Yes.
And so we hear about the trauma, but we also are aware that you had some specific skills that you were using. And now writing that book was part of that healing process. So how did you come to write the book and how did that process help in your healing? Continued healing.
The book was so very, very powerful. The time I had my car accident, many people wanted me to write so very traumatic. We lived in Indiana, but the car accident, so I was there in the hospital for over a month. I literally had to learn to walk again, along with a lot of other things that are in the book. And as you all read, I left nothing from A to Z. Then. And then later down the line is when my husband passed. People kept telling me, you have a book in you. Will you write your story? But there was, I wanted to start once my husband, but I was ready, not emotionally. And something kept blocking me, and I know it was the spiritual side because what was up the road where I didn't. So once my son passed, I felt then, and I heard the voice say, now you're ready to write the book. Yes, not because I knew that was going to make me see and visit every little thing emotionally. And so until one day I went to a revival one night, and when I walked in, the minister literally and said, woman, God said there's a book in you, and if you don't write it, he's going to you. And that night I went and began to type and write the book up. Everything, it was not pretty every time I typed. It felt, there were some things that I had forgotten about that the Holy Spirit brought back to me to write. I prayed and I said, God, let everything that I put on the page, let fill me emotionally in this book. And God has done just so. In writing, when I got to the end, I felt strengthened. You all saw some of the content. I didn't even want to, when I started writing, put the pictures of my face in there because I called a plastic surgeon in that night. My eyelids were torn completely. They told my husband, she won't be the same. But God, and God said that the surgeon came in one day and he said, this time, when I pulled these bandages up, he said, I can't believe the way you're healing. People won't know that you've been of this magnitude once these bandages come off. And you all, how bad I was messed up, but it was God. And so when I wrote this, to everything he did for me and for how he put the will to live in me.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Minister Hackworth, I will say when I read that part, that for me, that really touched me because I remember reading that you prayed and asked God that you not have to have surgery like
That's
on your
right.
face.
That's right.
That he would heal it. And
Yes.
when the doctor came in,
Yeah, right.
him then saying to you, listen, these lacerations on your face, they are healing nicely, and I don't see that you're going to have a surgery on your face, right? So that to me again was just powerful, and again to me where we started out talking about this intersection between faith and, like the social, emotional, mental health piece of this. And so for me, I saw that as the human, you were calling out to God and believing that he would also heal you, but you were also doing the work that needed to be done to address that emotional piece that you were also dealing with.
Mm-hmm. And as we close, believing in a higher power, believing in God is also mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a big part of the RUMERTIME process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Recognize, understand, manage, express, and reflect on your thoughts, interactions, mindsets, and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Mindset also means beliefs, attitudes, the way we see the world.
Absolutely.
It has a lot to do with our outcomes and our healing. So I wanted thank everyone for coming today. We're grateful for our viewing and listening audience. We encourage you to come back. We want to thank Lady Kiena Hackworth for sharing her story and being such a energetic guest and also authentic in sharing this very difficult story, but letting us know that there is hope after really dark days, and that one needs to also journal, because journaling is another way of healing, to help with one's healing. So thank you all, and we will see you October 10th, when October is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we will be seeing you then as well. Again, thank you all for joining us today, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, ladies.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
I choose to only think of thoughts. I choose to only think right thoughts. I choose to only think right thoughts. Rumor time reflects. When my mind is upset, I can change my mindset. Do not be thrown offset. Rumor time.
The rumor time process, and I came across this quote: behind every behavior is a belief.
Whatever setting you go to, whether you're at church, whether you're at school, whether you may be having
I was
an issue
able
at home.
to analyze a little bit more.
Bringing about real positive
In order for me
changes.
to be effective, I have to be reflective. And this training
I gather an appreciation for reflecting. And I
Take it from just something that's inside to getting it in a tangible form, getting it out from.
Fulfilling and rewarding to see the kids who coming and they sincerely growth in them. They became more reflective in their thinking, to see children grow, and not just see, but to be a part of it.
What I have learned in camp about rumor time is that it's a process for solving problems we face in our
Reduces a lot
lives.
of my stress, and then I begin to enjoy and spend time on the things that really make me happy.
I recommend this training to all age, from kindergarten.
Before you do that thing that you'll regret, or say that thing.
If you breathe and think, you should have this training. I would recommend this to everyone.